Hey babies, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. This is CJ. This is we are going to be doing a March wrap-up. Birthday month, kind of a sucky month, kind of a bad boy month. I've been thinking about how to do a monthly wrap-up moving forward because I think they're kind of boring. I think they're kind of boring to watch from other people. I think they're kind of boring to film. But like statistically, they're my highest viewed videos, which makes me wonder, what do you get out of them? Is it Spud? Is it Spud limping on by? Is it the most jam-packed book content you can have access to in the smallest amount of time? Is it the video where my personality is least on show so you can just like focus on the lit fic? Look at the chunky boy, he's so beautiful. Statistically, I think these do well on my channel, which, you know, YouTube rewards those who do well. But again, they're boring. They're so boring to me to watch and read, and I forget everything, so I can't even articulate what I liked the most about books throughout the month. So we're gonna try something different for March. I feel like I'm gonna do like a peak and a pit. Best and worst, right? Highlights and lowlights, 5-star raves and 0-star rants. Okay, we're gonna exist in polarity. There's gonna be a lot of books spoken about, and maybe we can talk more in depth about the few that I actually thought were meaningful and insightful and people should read. I have a Toby Keith shirt, and I don't really think I can take any comments or questions about it at this time. Not like really ironic, but it's a kind of ironic, you know what I mean? I think I read 12 books in March, which is a lot. Not a small feat by any means. And there were some bangers, there were some not bangers. So when I'm looking at this list of what I read, thematically we have a lot of books about motherhood, don't we? Stranger Care, The Life of the Mind, Early Morning Riser, all kind of about motherhood and what it means to be a mother. I would say Separation even touches on those themes. And obviously what my mother and I don't talk about. Something is going on with me lately reading about that topic. Let's start off with what my mother and I don't talk about, which is a collection of essays with some incredible writers who are featured, hold please, including Carmen Maria Machado and Brandon Taylor. A lot of these writers I hadn't heard about prior, but I'm interested to read more of their works after reading their essays in this anthology. I think this is just an incredibly powerful, vulnerable, nuanced, emotional book that captures the sometimes fraught but like beautiful and sacred relationship of someone and their mother. I've talked about this before on the channel, but I am interested in ideas of motherhood, of our relationships to our mothers versus our fathers, like the inherent sexism that can lie in expectations that we have for our moms that we don't have for our dads. And I think this really stirred up a lot of raw, tender emotions that even if you don't know you're unearthing, get unearthed. You know, a lot of talk about like resentment and abandonment in here, and I felt like some writers' perspectives, which I'm grateful for, were the idea about cutting ties with your biological family if they're like extremely abusive or not serving you or respecting you anymore, whether that be for whatever identity politic you're pursuing or more like emotionally abusive stuff. And there were also a fair balanced bit of essays that were more so filled with like a tinge of regret and kind of a letter to their younger self about things that they wish they could undo, things that they wish they could do differently, regrets that they didn't have enough time with their mom. I really liked an essay in particular called Thesmophoria, which is by Melissa Phoebos, and it's about a trip to Italy that she was supposed to take with her mother, but they accidentally got the dates wrong and ended up taking the same trip separately. Really interesting, and also pulls from a lot of mythological tales to tie into, I don't know, like the parable of motherhood, right? Then I also appreciated the Carmen Maria Machado essay titled Mother Tongue, and that was one of the essays that more so had a clear, firm boundary of separation between her and her mother, because her mother couldn't really connect with her and engage with her in a way that made Carmen feels seen as a human. So I think this is a great anthology. There's a lot of balance between gender, race, identity, like whose voices are represented here. And I think it walks a really delicate tightrope around being emotional but not exploitative, if that makes sense. Loved it. One of my favorite essay collections I've read in a long time. One of my other favorite books of the month was Life of the Mind by Christine Smallwood. I read this as an ARC on my Kindle. Shout out to NetGalley. Thank you to the publisher for getting me early access. And I loved it. Great piece of literary fiction that deals with a woman moving through the world who's depressed, trying to figure out her shit. We need to figure out an acronym for every time I sum up a protagonist that way. What can it be? Like depressed woman moving through the world? I'm just gonna say DWM, depressed woman moving. Follows a DWM named Dorothy, who is a adjunct professor and is a really insular, striking, kind of illuminating book about her relationship to her body, her relationship to the idea of motherhood. Basically, the crux of the book is that she suffers a miscarriage that no one except her partner knows about, and she's trying to move through the minutia of her life, trying to cope with people's expectations of her and figure out like what the future she wants to attain for herself is going to be, while also going through something like, you know, potentially biologically and emotionally damaging that other people aren't privy to. And I think it shined a light on miscarriage to me in a way that I had never really thought about it before, in a way that someone who is more factual minded, more thinks through the world in black and white, doesn't really consider like early pregnancies a baby, if you will, like uses a lot of the terminology of fetus, and really thinks about early stages of pregnancy as like an accumulation of cells in your body. How someone more science-minded can still think through and process the loss of the potential of a baby, right? Which I don't think I've really seen represented before. I think there's a lot of more like sentimental accounts of people who definitely wanted to experience motherhood, who wanted to be a mother, who experienced miscarriages, but the outward ambivalence and the kind of undecided like question mark of how this really made our narrator feel was really interesting. And it was also fun to read. It's like it's a kind of a short snappy novel, and there's like some travel involved. Our narrator goes to Las Vegas, and I think there's such an acute, amazing description of her trying to like navigate the casinos and like all of the artifice she's encountering, not only in like the architecture of Las Vegas itself, but also like the academic conference that she's there to take part in. Like it's just like so much posturing in an environment, and her really critically being able to see that and name it, I thought was really well done. Loved this book. I think I want to read this again, honestly. So a book I wanted to love but I did not love was Early Morning Riser by Catherine Henney. This was kindly sent to me by the publisher for review. I think it comes out in April. I think this would be considered chick lit. I think it would. Do I understand the possible misogynistic implications of calling something chick lit? Not really. Give me a pause on that one. I'll do some farther research and figure out what that means to me. But very much so, like, centers a romance and, well, like, it's kind of fluffy, you know? That's how I'm gonna describe and summarize this book. Easy to read. It's easy to be a part of the story and follow along, but I do think there was some problematic aspects of this book. So we follow Jane, who is like a small town teacher. Like she's Lorelai Gilmore, right? The way my friend sold this book to me was, it's like Gilmore Girls. And like, I guess it's like Gilmore Girls because they're in like a quaint little town, and like the seasons pass and you get to experience like their little town with them. through like spring and summer and winter and fall. Jane's our main character. She falls in love with an older man named Duncan. He is a playboy. He's dated everyone in town. She's over it. She wants him all to herself and she can't handle it anymore. Go through the ins and outs of their relationship. Time passes in this book, like it spans, I think, 15 years. They eventually create a family together, both biological and found. And that is the crux of the book that I had the most problems with, was some weird, inappropriate language around one of the characters named Jimmy, who is an adult man with a developmental disability, and it's never talked about in any kind of nuanced or concrete way. And I think there's some ableist language in like they're like, oh, Jimmy, he's simple-minded, he's hard to take care of, but we sure love him. I don't understand what the point of that character was, other than like to be a challenge in their lives. And there are some moments of, you know, huge joy and relationship building, and Jimmy totally is like a part of their family and he literally lives with them. But I just feel like the author was into some tricky territory on that one and could have used a finer edit. I feel like Early Morning Riser was trying to sell me like offbeat, quirky family togetherness, but it was really like sloppy. You know, I need that nuance. I did not get it. So that was a low of the month for sure. Gave it a 2 out of 5 stars. Another low I would have to say is the Luminaries. I was ready for something plot driven after I read Plot of the Life of the Mind. I was ready to go on an adventurous romp. And romp we did not, honestly. This is a sweeping novel set in the 1880s about the gold rush in New Zealand. The writing is dense, baby. Like, it felt like I was reading a classic. I was just like in the minutia of description to a degree that I could not handle, and we were just in and out of different characters trying to like do this world building thing and get your mind around this early village in New Zealand. And I just wasn't interested. And it wasn't the fact that it was about gold mining that didn't interest me. It was like the actual, it wasn't due to the fact that it was about the gold rush that didn't intrigue me even. It was like the actual writing was so dense and boring. And I know this like comes together in a sweeping way, and I'm sure I would have thought it was fine if I kept continuing it, but like 600 pages to end up with a, yeah, that was fine. Like, I know myself enough to stop reading and DNF things when I do, so not for me. DNF'd at like page 200. What else should I like this month? Oh, Blueberries. Thank you, Rebecca from Rebecca Eats Books, for recommending this in your channel. Blew me away. So experimental and fresh and devastating and cutting. Oh my god. Probably like one of the best depictions of sexual assault that I've ever read. So big trigger warning on that. Like, there is a lot of heavy unearthing that happens when you read this book. I also watched it in conjunction with I May Destroy You for the first time. We just finished it last night. So lots of like, you know, really heavy sexual assault consuming of media on my brain recently. And that's hard, but it's necessary. And I thought it was so amazing. I thought it was incredible. I feel like Elena Savage is trying to kind of skewer herself and really pointedly place herself in the world of like social hierarchy that she lives in, like within class and her whiteness and being able-bodied and being a woman, and like the privileges and disadvantages that come with all of those separate identities, right? And then also trying to place herself as like a creative in the world, and how the economy that is surrounding her around being a creative and academic, and the opportunities that are afforded to her and the ones that are not, based on said identities. Really hard to classify, kind of, but if you like a DWM, this is like IRL DWM. In real life, depressed woman moving through the world. Yes, that's a catchy phrase. We're going with it. So that was a huge highlight. I also read some other books, but I don't feel like talking about any of them. If you have questions about any of them in particular, I'm happy to talk through them, but like the ones that were meh, I've already talked about in my vlogs. So no need to meh again. Anything else we can talk about on our monthly wrap-ups? Did anything happen in my life? I got vaccinated. Yay, I got eligible to be vaccinated. Got vaccinated this morning. That was cool. I downloaded a new video game called Spiritfarer on my Switch, which I've really liked playing. I played like, I don't know, a few hours yesterday, and it's really fun. It is kind of like a simulator game with more of a storyline that you advance through as well. So that's like a perfect amount of plot for me to follow through in a video game, but also like enough boring stuff to just like minutia your way through, and kind of have like not a stressful experience playing it. So really liked that. Last thing I've been enjoying, okay? I got a new cookbook called One Pot Pan Planet by Anna Jones. I think this is a good, big chef in the UK. I watch a lot of UK channels and have some UK friends, and I see this recipe, and I see this chef referenced a lot on their channels, but not so much in America, so I ordered it from Blackwell's, and I'm liking it. Do I cook? No. Am I the curator of the weekly menu? Yes. So I'm gonna pick some things for Kiki to try out, and all of these are vegetarian and very easy to make veganized. Would love to know what's up with the UK and halloumi. It seems like every other recipe in here calls for halloumi, and that is not common here. Just wanted to see what's up. Spud's back. He's done barking. That's so good for him. And yeah, I think April's gonna be cool. We're vaccinated. We're vaccinated. The sun's coming out. What more could you ask for, right? If you have any suggestions at all about how to think through monthly wrap-ups in a different way, let me know. I mean, I could do a normal wrap-up, but I'm not gonna like filming it or editing it, which like therefore might not make people want to watch it. I don't know. Maybe we could like gamify it and put like every book that I read in a jar and like pull 3 and have to talk about them in depth, regardless if I like them or didn't like them. I don't know. Need to do something, right? Okay, bye. See you later. I hope you have a nice April.